We're going to talk more about Venezuela's economy and why there's a problem there and how we can fix it. Russ Dallen, he's the president and chief editor-in-chief of Latin America Herald Tribune, joining us live from Davie, Florida. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you, Russ. And I'm going to ask you, I guess as frankly as I can, what the heck is going on in Venezuela?
Thank you, Philip. It's good to see you as well. Basically, there's a shortage of dollars. While oil prices made Chavez, they went up from $10 to over $100 a barrel during the term of Chavez. They've stagnated since 2008, and they haven't been continued that exponential increase. As a result, the government finds itself without dollars, and therefore then you have inflation at 54%. Yeah.
Okay. I think we can all accept that things are not well there, but this move of seizing department stores and electronic stores and sort of this socialization of privatization by the government of all these different, how does that help solve the currency issue?
It doesn't. In the end, it's bread and circuses, and a lot more circuses. They've got an election coming up next month, as Martin mentioned in his excellent piece, and that seems to be the short-term focus. But in the long run, no one's going to import TVs or microwaves or crock pots because there's no money in it, and so it makes everyone dependent upon the state, which in the end is kind of what they'd like.
Well, we know for a fact when prices are controlled in this particular case, there is no incentive for any private citizen or business to ever do business in any place, because what's the incentive, right? I want to ask you, are we in the middle of a crisis, or is this just politics?
It is a crisis in the long run, because who is going to import, as you said, if they can't sell them for a profit? In fact, what happened in the stores so far is that the DACA, which is the Best Buy of Venezuela, was selling things that weren't looted, was selling them for 10 cents on the dollar for what they paid for them. So in the end, it's just a vicious circle, and no one's going to be able to import because they don't want to risk it.
This might be one of the most dramatic stories that's playing out in Latin America right now. The president of Venezuela says that the U.S. embassy is plotting against his government. Is this true?
It's classic, yeah. It's classic Cuban blame the United States kind of theory. The people advising Maduro, where Maduro was educated, he didn't finish high school, but he went and lived in Cuba, and he was trained there for a while. It's blame the United States for their problems. I mean, they have the world's largest supply of oil. They could sell it to anyone. They have 20% of the world's oil reserves, and they haven't been able to increase oil production. As a result, they find themselves writing checks they can't cash.
I mean, it's part embarrassing, it's part of crisis, it's part of government responsibility to kind of restore order, at least in the economy, if not in the social safety net. The people of Venezuela, I mean, yes, they don't like the fact there's rampant inflation, but I'm sure they don't like the fact that the private sector companies are going to simply pull out, but I guess you won't see the impact of that until the longer run. In the shorter run, are the people happy with this?
No, the situation in the street is very, very tense. As a matter of fact, there are people waiting outside of stores to try and get their chance, when they're not trying to break into them, to try and go in and buy things at 10 cents on the dollar. In the long run, it can't work. Maduro made Christmas early this year, declared Christmas last week started, and then he also made a vice ministry for happiness. Clearly, it's all bread and circuses, and there's sadly not enough bread, so you got a lot more circus.
Russ Dallen, I want to thank you again for coming on this show. Please do keep an eye on this for us. We'll have you back again as soon as there's further developments from Venezuela, as things are changing there, as we can see, week by week. Thank you very much.